Hi, good morning or good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stéphane Saint-Onge. I'm the Chief Compliance Officer at Cunningham Shores Limited. Cunningham Shores is a real estate developer based in Nassau in the Bahamas. If you want to learn more about our real estate development in the Bahamas, you may visit our website at westendnasa.com. But the topic of today will not be about precisely real estate. It will be rather about the permanent residency program in the Bahamas. Just a few words to start with. Normally, when you attend webinars or meeting dealing with the permanent residency or citizenship by investment program, you hear about countries such as Portugal, such as Bermuda, such as other Caribbean nations, but very rarely about the Bahamas. I would say that the permanent residency program of the Bahamas is a program that is not very well known, mostly because the government of the Bahamas does not uh, make any publicity about this particular program, but it is a very good program, knowing that, for example, the Bahamas is a very, very nice country with a lot of very attractive feature that we will have a look at in the next few minutes. Just to start with some information about the Bahamas in general. The Bahamas is a sovereign state. This is something very important compared to other jurisdictions, for example, such as Bermuda or the Cayman Islands. The Bahamas is an independent country since 1973. It's a sound democracy, stable country. This is a very important feature of the country. Also, the Bahamas is very well located when you look at a map. Um, we are not too far from obviously United States. We are not too far from Canada. So it's a place that is very, very convenient as a destination. Also, what is interesting about the Bahamas is that it's also a very well established international financial center. Those are basic arguments to consider the Bahamas as a place to reside. Next slide, please. Yes, next slide. Thank you. So the Bahamas is a country very well known for its islands. The principal island is New Providence, where you have, I would say, 75% of the Bahamian population living on. The total population of the Bahamas is 400,000 people, 300,000 living on New Providence, where its capital, Nassau, is located. And obviously, for people enjoying scuba diving, surfing, boating, it's a paradise. Next slide. So again, some reason why to choose the Bahamas or to invest in the Bahamas. We are very close to the major North American and Latin American financial centers and cities. In fact, for example, a flight between Nassau and Miami just take 30 minutes. And pre-pandemic, there was at least 15 flights a day between Miami and Nassau. There's also direct flight to New York City, Toronto, London, etc. Also, we are on obviously the same time zone as for New York, Toronto, and Miami. This is also very, very convenient. As we mentioned earlier, the Bahamas is a sound democracy. It's a peaceful country, which is compliant with international legislation. Next slide. Um, in the Bahamas, another very, very important feature is that it's one of the very last few neutral tax jurisdiction or zero tax jurisdiction. Beside the VAT, the value added tax, there's no income tax in the Bahamas because when you look at the country still offering a permanent residency program or citizenship by investment program, you have very few countries still offering those programs that has no tax or no income tax in their respective jurisdiction. So maybe you have Monaco, you have the Cayman Island, and the Bahamas. But you'll see there's a very interesting feature about the Bahamas that make the country a prime choice of investment and permanent residency. Also, it's an English-speaking country. For English speaker or people fluent in English, this is very convenient. We have also very good public services and modern infrastructure in the Bahamas. We have a very modern airport. We have very good hospitals. We have good schools. Even now, we have for a few years a university in the Bahamas. So I would say that it's very impressive what the Bahamas did over the last decade in terms of public services and infrastructure. The climate also is very, very nice. I would say that maybe we have hurricane season during the months of August and September that could be a little bit disturbing, but beside this, it's a very, very nice weather. Not too cold or cool, I would say, during the months of February and January, and not too warm during summertime. So it's the perfect climate for the Caribbean region. Also, we have a huge and extended the network of banks and financial institution. We have obviously many Canadian banks, including Scotiabank, RBC, and CIBC on the island. So there's a huge offering of financial services in the Bahamas that you may not get in other jurisdiction in the Caribbean. Next slide. So let's go now to the main topic of this webinar. So the permanent residency in the Bahamas, once it's obtained, is good for life. So this is a process that when the government grants you a permanent residency, you have it until your death. So the program is very, very simple. You need to invest or purchase a piece of real estate located in the Bahamas, having a value of at least $750,000 US dollar, $750,000. And when you make such a purchase, then you qualify for application for the permanent residency program of the Bahamas. When you get your permanent residency status in the Bahamas, you enjoy all of the rights and benefit of a citizen of the Bahamas, unless obviously you have no right to vote or to run for public service. But beside this, you have all the rights and privileges of a Bahamian citizen. Next slide. So just to come back to taxes, because this is, I would say, always been an important feature of the Bahamas, but it's maybe more important today, having in mind that following the pandemic, governments in the Western Hemisphere might be tempted or might have to increase taxes on their resident. So the tax burden of people living in countries such as Canada, United States, Western Europe countries might be a little bit more expensive in the near future, considering the Bahamas could also become, for tax purposes, a very wise move. Again, as I just said, there's no tax on capital gain. There's no tax on dividends payment, interest payment. Also, there's no wealth tax, no inheritance tax, no estate tax. So the only taxes that we may get in the Bahamas for someone residing in the country is the VAT, the value or the sales tax, as we know in the States, which is at the rate of 12% on most of the services and the good that you consume, with very limited exemption for food and medicine. There's also what we used to call the stamp duty tax, which is not part of the VAT when you purchase a piece of real estate. The rate right now is at 10% for real estate under $2 million. If it's above the $2 million threshold, then it's the regular rate of 12% that is applicable. When you get the permanent residency status in the Bahamas, there's no annual minimum stay requirements. So you're not obliged to live in the country even for a single day. There's other jurisdictions that are very highly in demand right now for permanent residency. I have in mind, for example, Portugal, that is probably at the moment the hottest program for permanent residency. When you get your permanent residency status in Portugal, you need to stay for a minimum of 1 week a year, which is not a lot, but still. In the Bahamas, there's no such minimum requirement of staying in the country. Next slide. Yes, again, a few words about the international financial center of the Bahamas. The Bahamas used to be a very, very large banking hub in the Caribbean. Frankly speaking, the country lost a few financial institutions over the past few years. But still, it has a very, very strong and solid international financial center with banks, broker-dealer, trust companies, and other financial institutions, both locals and foreign, from countries such as the US, the UK, Switzerland, obviously, Canada, and even the Far East. Since December 18, 2020, what is very important is that the FATF removed the Bahamas from the list of jurisdiction under increased monitoring. So it means that basically, as of today, the Bahamas is considered as a fully compliant jurisdiction with regard to international banking regulation, anti-money laundering regulation, etc. Next slide. Now, when you want to become a permanent resident of the Bahamas, basically, again, as I just said, you need to invest in a real estate property of at least $750,000. So there's a lot of offering in the Bahamas. You may consider investing and purchasing a piece of real estate either on New Providence Island in Nassau, where you have all, I would say, the big action with very good restaurants, resorts, casinos, a golf course. So it's sometimes I say like being in Florida. You know, it's the lifestyle of Southern Florida. Or you may also choose to invest in one of what we call the family islands, the other islands of the Bahamas, where you have exceptional, amenities, and where the lifestyle is maybe a little bit different, but where you have fantastic oceans, beaches, etc. Next slide. Now, how to apply? The first, obviously, step is to purchase your real estate property. So normally you execute what we call a sales agreement or an agreement for sale. And when you have purchased your piece of property, then you have to complete an application. There's a form. There's a form provided by the government where you have to file your application with the Immigration Department of the Bahamas. And you have also to provide some documents and information together with your application form. Normally, what applicants do, they hire a local legal counsel, a law firm, to assist them with the permanent residency application and to guide them throughout the process with the immigration department. That normally between application filed and issuance of the permanent residency certificate, normally it takes between 4 to 6 months. Next slide. So there's a list, as I just said, of documents and things that you have to put together with your application form. Well, firstly, there's a fee. There's a $200 non-refundable processing fee that has to be paid to the immigration department. You need also to attach to your form a letter of request. It's like a small, short letter where you explain shortly the reason why you would like to become a permanent resident of the Bahamas. Your legal advisor could eventually provide you with a template for such a letter. The application form itself, you need also to provide a medical certificate for each applicant that has to be not older than 30 days. It has to be a draft or written in English. It's a very simple medical certificate saying or confirming that the applicant is in good health. There's no need to proceed with a medical examination or to provide lab tests or things like that. Also, a police certificate is an important document that has to be provided by the applicant. It should be dated less of 6 months prior to the application and covering the past 5 years of residence of the applicant. So if the applicant has resided in more than one country in the past 5 years, he or she needs to provide the police certificates for each jurisdiction. 2 passport photos, also a copy of his or passport page where you show the biography of the applicant. Next slide. The birth certificate of the applicants. It's important to have it in English if your place of birth do not issue birth certificate in English. It has to be provided in a translated version and certified true copy by consulate or apostille process. You need also to provide two character references, basically from a banker, a lawyer, an accountant, and it has to be addressed to the Immigration Department of the Bahamas. But again, your legal advisor will be able to guide you with that particular requirement. Your marriage or wedding certificate, or divorce decree or judgment, as the case may be. So now it's very important just to underline that when you file the application, you may file it for yourself, for your spouse, and for your kids who are under the age of 21 years old. So it's possible for a family to file a combined application. And eventually, when the government or the Immigration Department will issue your certificate of permanent residency, there's going to be a one certificate for the entire family. After the certificate, the new permanent resident may ask to get their permanent residency card, which is a small plastic card, and the card will be issued for each new permanent resident, but the certificate itself cover the entire family that apply for permanent residency. Next slide. Again, as I just mentioned, few important details about the application process itself. The only official language in the Bahamas is English, so we need to provide documents that are either originally drafted in English or translated in English and certified by a notary or through the apostille process. The apostille is required for all birth, marriage, and death certificate issued by the foreign countries. Now, also the translation should be done by a recognized translator. So it could be either a lawyer, a foreign lawyer, or a translator that is recognized with a foreign government. Next slide. Some additional information. Again, as I said, the application may be submitted for the main applicant, their spouse and children that are not age of 21 years old or older. Now, the applicant may ask for permanent residency with the right to work in his own business. So it means that basically when you get your permanent residency status, you have the right to work in your own business. The spouse and the children normally are not allowed to get some right to work with their new status of permanent resident. But eventually, if they want to work, there's the possibility to get a work permit in the Bahamas. When the application is approved by the Department of Immigration, there's a fee of $15,000 that has to be paid to the government. And when this fee is paid, the cabinet, because it's a cabinet decision, issue their certificate of permanent residency for the entire family, and then you can get your permanent residency card that is valid for 10 years and renewable then after. Next slide. Some other information. So when you purchase your real estate, you could do it. It's possible to do it personally as an individual, but most of the time, people buy their property through a company or a trust. So this is perfectly legitimate and possible in the Bahamas. The only thing is that eventually we need to evidence that the applicant is the ultimate beneficial owner of the company of the trust to link the applicant to the real estate property. So normally we use international, local Bahamian IBC, International Business Corporation, to proceed with the acquisition or the purchase of the property. And when we're dealing with the yet to be built property in the Bahamas, it's always also better to do it through an IBC. Next slide, please. Other features, very important. Again, no minimum length of stay in the Bahamas for a permanent resident. There are also no minimum length of time for the new permanent resident to own its real estate property. This is very important because, for example, again, in Portugal, when you own a piece of, when you become a permanent resident, you need to keep for at least 5 years your real estate. Otherwise, you're going to lose your permanent residency status. That's not the case in the Bahamas. Legally, a new permanent resident may sell his real estate the next day following the issuance of his permanent residency certificate. This is maybe not something you want to do because investing in the Bahamas could be a very wise move, at least for investment purposes, and you may also enjoy the place. But anyhow, this is a very important feature. When you become a permanent resident of the Bahamas, you may apply for a local driver's license, get what we call the NIB card, which is like a social security number, ID. So you can get everything that normally a citizen of the Bahamas could have access to. Starting in 2021, the government will issue also what they call a tax residency card. It will allow people to get what we call a TIN, or a tax identification number, for permanent resident of the Bahamas who are physically present at least 90 days a year in the country. This is a move that the government decided to introduce because since that there's no taxes in the Bahamas, there's no tax identification number for Bahamian. And when, for example, you want to open a bank account abroad, normally you are asked to provide such a TIN number, and not being able to provide such a number or a tax number could create some issues. So this is why the government now wants to, even though there's no taxes, wants to provide to their permanent resident TIN numbers. So the fees, basically, with regard to the permanent residency application, as we said, there's a $15,000 fee payable to the government when you have been issued your permanent residency status. The, let's say, application fee, when you look at all the fees, sometime for the translation, for the process fees, etc., it's roughly $2,000 more or less. If you want to make your purchase through an IBC, a local company, gonna cost you $2,500. And also for the legal fee with regard to the application, roughly between 7,500 and 10,000 should cover all your legal fees itself. Now, for the real estate purchase, again, as I said, there's a 10% VAT that is applicable for purchase of less than $2 million. It's 12% above. In the Bahamas, what the custom is, normally this 10% or 12% VAT is shared between the purchaser and the vendor. So expect to pay 5% if you buy a property of less than 2 millions, or 6% if the property is above the 2 million threshold. Legal fees are more or less at 2%. And you may also want to get title insurance. I will not say more about title insurance, but this is very important in the Bahamas. And it's not so expensive. It's the fee is based on the value of the property, but this is another fee that you may have to pay when you acquire a piece of real estate in the Bahamas. Next slide. So this is it. It was brief. I hope that you did enjoy this webinar presentation about permanent residency in the Bahamas. Again, unfortunately, or maybe it's not such a bad thing, but unfortunately, I would say the permanent residency program in the Bahamas is not very well known, but its features are very interesting. And I invite you to think about it. And if you have any questions, you may reach me, especially through my email address. And again, I invite you to visit our website at westendnassau.com if you want to have a better look at the Bahamas real estate market. Thank you very much.